What's up, everybody? Noah Kisser back here for another episode of Noah and Scottie Reviews. This is episode 6. We don't have a whole ton to talk about with the films this week, but we do have 3 pieces of news. And the next week, there's a whole slew of stuff. We got the Golden Globes. We got the Critics' Choice. We have the Los Angeles Critics Circle winners. So let's get right into it. We have 4 Hallmark films followed by Family Switch, It's a Wonderful Knife. Scottie will be reviewing The Exorcist Believer, and we will both be, I'll be covering May, December. So let's get right into it with My Norwegian Holiday. My Norwegian Holiday is all about JJ. Grieving the loss of her grandmother, jumps at the chance to join a new friend, Henrik, on a trip to Norway to discover her grandmother's history and look into how she landed a troll figurine from his hometown. This is a film that I had almost no hope going into. Because when you do movies that take place overseas, they can go one of 2 ways. They can either be so beautifully shot with such a little story, and they're just banking off the fact, hey, we're in Norway, or we're in Italy, or France, or Africa, or something. Whenever you go anyplace besides either Canada or the United States, it's like they just don't try with the story a whole lot. For me, this one worked. And I know that this has been a lot of people's favorites of the weekend. Seeing reactions and things on groups and scores, this has been the highest one that I've seen a lot of praise for. I love Rhiannon Fish in this film. Rhiannon Fish is top-notch, as always. She always gives her all to these roles. We always love her. But what really needs to work here is you need to give me an interesting story. They do that in a way. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't capture everybody the same way. Because he and I have very differing opinions on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed this on the romance front. I enjoyed this on the chemistry. I enjoyed the acting. The comedy worked for me. I enjoyed this story overall. I thought they kind of shied away from the troll a little bit of her trying to figure out who or how she got it. They kind of strayed away from that to tie into the romance and getting to know the family. And let me tell you what, this family is so likable. I don't know what's going on with Hallmark this Christmas season with all the families. Why are all the families so freaking likable? The families are so likable. I don't care if it's a grandma, an aunt. There's always one standout character that always just stands out. And for this one, it has got to be pretty much the entire family, especially the one who's a Swiftie.
Oh, God.
That was just a nice little touch there. But I enjoyed that on the comedy front. I liked that they didn't make this all about the atmosphere and exploring Norway like they did in Joyeux Noel, or however you say that. That was more about the chemistry, but it was like, we're in France. We are in France. And doing that, I enjoyed this overall more than I thought I would. Because the last Rhiannon Fish Christmas film from last year, I did not enjoy as much. Now, to me, is this her best film? Is this the best Rhiannon Fish film? I don't think she has a bad film. I really don't think she has a bad film. If we're talking strictly romance, this may be my favorite, where she's the lead star in it. And that's nothing against, a Picture of Her or When Love Springs, but if we're talking about her best film, it has to be Nikki and Nora Sister Sleuths. That's her best film, hands down. Not only because it has her and Hunter King in it, but that always helps. But the story worked. It worked as a whole. This one worked for me. I enjoyed the chemistry. However, it did start to drag in the middle a little bit. That was my biggest issue, is that started to drag a little bit in the middle. You didn't focus on the troll figurine a whole lot, but if you can suck me into the family, get me to like this family, Give me to like the grandma, sort of, or his mom, was it, or was it his grandma? I think it was his grandma.
I can't remember, honestly. I'm already forgetting this movie for me, so.
But this is a decent little Hallmark film that I'm going to end up giving a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed this one overall. I can see myself enjoying this one time and time again, but this one for you was not a favorite, and I know this pains you to say, but what did you think about My Norwegian Holiday?
Well, as you know, I'm a massive fan of Rhiannon Fish. She's one of my favorite working with Hallmark. Um, Now, she's not had amazing ones. I mean, I love to picture her. I love Nikki and Nora. Was it Splash of Love, or that one she did from last year where she went to see the whales or whatever?
Yep.
I enjoyed that one. But she's done a few for me that haven't been all that great, especially when she's gone into like the up TV movies type stuff or whatever those are that we've gotten.
Yeah.
But I was excited for this one mostly for her, just seeing her.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it didn't. This movie just did not work. I think that they jumped in really quickly in this movie. I just felt like we got thrown right into the mix instead of having any kind of build up to her meeting this guy. It just kind of boom. Here it is. He's breaking up with his girlfriend or whatever, and they're randomly just jumping right into this relationship or this meeting with them, and that was just too quick for me. I thought that the reasoning she went over there, she didn't really go over there because it says she went over there for the troll thing,
Yeah.
but really her boss forced her to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of gave her no choice because he said, if you want to get this, you have to go over there. And so she was kind of just put in a bind where she just had to do it. And to me, I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was her being forced to go over there, and it just felt like it was forcing the whole movie almost in a way. And the lead guy, didn't really care for him. I thought he was kind of boring. Didn't really care for his acting that much. Didn't really feel a lot of chemistry. I wouldn't say there wasn't some moments where they might have showed a little bit, but it just wasn't as good as it could have been. I think if they had somebody that was a little bit better of a lead with her. And as you said, they just don't focus on. It's like they couldn't decide what to focus on in this one. She goes for the troll, but it kind of gets ignored. And then you got the story with him and his injury. It's kind of just there as well. It's like they're just trying to throw so many things in at one time in this movie that it just never caught on for me. I just never could get into it that much. And unfortunately, it ended up being a 1 out of 5 and the worst one of the weekend. But honestly, it wasn't a good weekend for me anyways with these with the Hallmark films. So that wasn't saying too much.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, yes, we do have one more Hallmark film that premiered this past week, but we just reviewed that a couple weeks ago. With Time for Her to Come Home for Christmas. To recap that, it's the weakest one of the franchise. Yeah, it did well in the ratings, but I've seen reactions and scores. People did not like this film. This might be the final one they do, and for it to go out on such a subpar film compared to the other, 5? This being the 6th and potentially final film. This was just a huge letdown for me. I didn't like that one at all. But you want to talk about something I was looking forward to. This was a not so royal Christmas. With this cast, with this storyline, adding in the royals, you had me sucked in. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened here. because this was a very enjoyable film for me in some portions. This was an enjoyable film. For me, My Norwegian Holiday was my favorite of the weekend. But this one was probably the most fun, sort of, if that makes any sense. Because with this one, this is all about a tabloid journalist named Charlotte, played by Brooke Dorsey, and she requested an interview with a famously private count. However, the count fled town years ago. The royal family convinces their groundskeeper to pose as him. And this groundskeeper is played by Will Kemp. If anybody is going to play a count or a prince in Hallmark, shouldn't it be Will Kemp? If you're going to set it overseas, I can't see anybody else doing it. He has the prince look. He has the attitude. And I thought that these two had very good chemistry here. Very good chemistry, an intriguing storyline, and it had a lot of good comedic beats. However, the lying got to be way, way too much in this thing. Because, yes, he's lying about being the count. And here's the thing. We are not in the royal family. We don't know how these things actually work. So we don't know all the touches, all the press, all the, say, the legalities of it. We don't know what they're supposed to do and how they actually come up with a count or a prince if there isn't one in line. This one, however, they do something at the end that I thought was very cliched. We all saw it coming. But the lying got to be way too much. It started to drag a lot. Them being mad at each other, I get it. But we just got this with a great film called Holiday Hotline, where they both lied to each other. But the chemistry was there. It was funny. You had two different couples, but one actor for each. And all four had good chemistry. This one, the chemistry is there, but the lying is too much. It's too shoved in there. You had a side couple that you were trying to shove together. You just didn't capitalize on it. So, what is that in my mouth? Oh, it's a hair. Okay. But A Not So Royal Christmas is one that I really did not want to give this level of a score to. I'm still saying it's a good film. It's a good enough film where if it's on, sure, I'll leave it on. If me and my family are going to sit down on a Sunday afternoon and there's nothing on and we want to watch a Christmas movie, this will be a perfectly fine watch. But I'd rather watch a Biltmore Christmas or, say, a Holiday Hotline, the Santa Summit, a Never Been Christ. I can list a ton from this year that are way better than this one. But I'm not going to say it's awful. Because with the chemistry, the costumes, even though the dress is the wrong color, in the freaking poster, it's blue. So I'm guessing they just didn't think of that when they were either doing the Photoshop or doing the photo shoots, that she's wearing a green dress in the actual film, but you're not going to have her wearing a green dress in all the thumbnails and in all of the press pictures for it and your main poster. Sure. But, accidents happen. Maybe it was a different department. I don't know. But I know you were not a fan of this one either, but you didn't dislike it as much as My Norwegian Holiday. So what were your overall thoughts on this one, and what made this a bit of a better film for you compared to the last one?
The biggest thing, like you said, was the chemistry. I mean, this one you actually had chemistry with both Brooke and Will. The comedy worked at times with it. I liked the side couple, even though like you said, they didn't really do anything with the side couple or potential side couple, I guess you could say. And I thought the costume design and the setting was nice. It had a decent Christmas feel to it, unlike the Norwegian Holiday. the biggest things with this one that really brought it down for me was the lion and how it ended. I didn't like how it ended. And just the overall, to me, what happened in this movie just doesn't make sense. And yes, I know we don't know the full customs of it and stuff and how they run things over there when it comes to counts and stuff. But to me, it just didn't sit right. I just didn't feel like it was very believable for me that it can be ran without a count and nobody know what happened and everything. But so those are my biggest things. Like I gave it a 2.5. I feel like that was a fair score for it at 2.5, because it wasn't the worst. Obviously, it actually was the best of the weekend for me. But it was fun at times, but it's just overall I didn't care for the lion and didn't like the concept of the movie and that ending.
Now, I will say some nice things about this film. The actors are good. I really enjoy these two actors a lot. However, I think that this is a better film than Will Kemp's film last year, Jolly Good Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
This is a better film, and it's from the same director as A Jolly Good Christmas. So I would say that they do a good job together because he knows how to direct Will now. This is his third film with Will Kemp in it. They've done Jolly Good Christmas, this one, and Love, Romance, and Chocolate. But to me, his strongest film by far that Jonathan Wright has done is A Very Merry Mix-Up. That's one that my family loves. I love. He also did The Royal Nanny last year. That was a good film, sort of a royalty touch to it as well. But this film just should have been better if you have taken out some of the lying, fleshed out the ending a little bit more, and fleshed out that side couple. Gave them an actual ending compared to, hey, I invited her to this ball, and I'm just going to stand by her now.
Yeah.
You are you are not going to be in a relationship with her if all you're doing is just standing there like a mannequin like this. Yay! They got together. My friend's the Count. I don't know what happened, but this is a lower score than what I wanted to give it. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 for this one. This is a likable film for me. I can see myself rewatching this one over some from this year, but people are not really liking this one either. On average, the highest on Letterboxd is a 2 out of 5, and I can kind of see that. But this is one that you and I were both a little nervous about, you more than me.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Christmas with a Kiss. This is all about this mahogany film follows a woman who returns home for her family's Christmas carnival, unexpectedly meeting a photojournalist and her ex-boyfriend from years ago. This movie had a lot of promise. The preview for it did suck me in a little bit. I liked this because it looked like we could have gotten a little bit more of a different take on like a Never Been Kissed. However, Never Been Kissed was two friends going after the same guy, but yet not really.
I was just saying, not really.
This one, from the looks of it, it's mostly about her choosing which guy she wants to be with, but yet not really. This movie didn't know what it wanted to be. It didn't know whether it wanted to be a drama. It didn't know whether it wanted to be a comedy, whether it wanted to be a romantic comedy, or whether it wanted to be a straight romantic drama. You need to pick a genre. Yes, you can be funny. You can add emotion. But with the emotional arcs and the emotional beats that this film has, it doesn't work. The chemistry is not there. Our guy Fletcher here, The ex-boyfriend does not need to be there. And I'm not going to lie to you. I was watching this film and I forgot that Ronnie Rowe, was supposed to be writing an article. I forgot. I forgot until the very time. Oh, yeah, article. Sure, he's writing an article. I didn't care. I forgot about what the film was actually about while I was watching the damn thing. I hate to say that, but I love Ronnie Rowe in this. I believe you say her name as Michelle Morgan. As Mona here. She is really good in here. She's really good in this role. Her and Ronnie do have decent chemistry, but her and Jamie, who play Fletcher, have more chemistry. But you don't flesh out that character enough, and Fletcher is unneeded. He's unneeded. If you would have added this in, yes, we would have gotten more of the same plot of a guy lying, but he's getting closer to the family. How many times have we seen that this year already? However, yes, all these movies can turn out to be the same. Adding twists like this makes them a little bit different. But when you don't capitalize on it and you don't flesh out the character of Fletcher enough to make me care or you care, this is one that should have been better. I enjoy these actors. I wanted to like this story. You don't really give a whole lot of attention to the actual carnival. The carnival's barely in the movie. It's mostly them setting up the carnival. But I will say this. This is not an awful film. I know I am ragging on this film, but this film should have been great. This should have been great. With a storyline like this, with a better script, this would have been a very good film. However, with this film, I will say I did like the chemistry between her and Ronnie Rowe. Ronnie Rowe is very likable in here. He's a very likable guy. However, she did forgive him a little bit too easily, but then again, I can't really fault her of that because I even forgot that he was writing the freaking thing for the magazine or for the website. I forgot, and I was watching it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give this a very super generous 2.5 out of 5 because with this one, this was the weakest of them of the entire weekend for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, the way that this film was shot, it did look a little bit more expensive. They added in a lot more of the widescreen aspect, and I liked how they actually used the anamorphic widescreen on this compared to other films. Because the last time that we got an anamorphic widescreen film where I noticed it, where it didn't take up the whole entire screen and actually had the black bars on the top and bottom of the screen, was Catch Me If You Claws. So it did look a little bit cleaner. It looked a lot nicer. It looked a lot more... See, I don't want to say professional. I just want to say that it looks a lot nicer than, say, a My Norwegian Holiday, which does have the beautiful landscapes and the beautiful scenery. This one had a carnival. It looked beautiful when you actually saw the carnival. But I did not really love this film as much as I thought I was going to. The last Mahogany film from last year was much, much better. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know that I enjoyed it. But what did you think of this film overall, and what score would you give it?
Well, for me, I wasn't excited about it. I almost skipped it because I was going to wait to hear what your score was for it first. And if I would have waited, I would have been able to skip it. But
how dare you, TV?
Yeah. Didn't have nothing else to watch. I was forced to watch it. I pretty much got exactly what I figured it would be. I mean, it was, I didn't really care for the storyline going into it. This fighting over, or her leading two guys on basically to have to pick one at the end. I wasn't crazy about that storyline. And I liked Ronnie Rowe. I did like him in this. I liked the family. I thought the family was great. You did get some Christmas feel to it when they were at the carnival and stuff like that. But yeah, and I didn't like Michelle or whatever her name is. I honestly didn't like her. I thought her character was written to be very unlikable in the beginning, and then when the rest of the time, I just felt like she was not giving enough to the role. I just didn't vibe with her. I don't know if that's from her years of working in the soap operas. That's just how she acted when she was in a soap opera, when she was on that soap opera. But I didn't care for her. I thought the ex was very unneeded, as you said. He just felt like he was in and out so much. I mean, 1 minute he's there, the next minute he's gone. And I was like, do you not know how to use these characters to make the story work? It's just like they just didn't know what to do. They had an idea and they just didn't know how to run with it. And but I ended up giving this one a 2 out of 5, higher than I expected to give it, honestly, but still just one that I did not enjoy and just really soured the whole weekend, honestly, because there just wasn't one that I was really excited for and wasn't one I would watch again, honestly. I can't say there was one that I would ever turn on even just for background noise again.
Yeah. What I will say is that this is the weakest film that Ronnie Rowe has on his Hallmark filmography, sort of, because he's only had 3 other films in this type of genre, 2 for Hallmark and 1 for Lifetime. I have not seen the Lifetime one called Maps and Mistletoe yet. I will. I think it looks really entertaining, but this one is the weakest one out of his other 2 that I really enjoy, which are Jingle Bell Bride and Inventing the Christmas Prince.
Yeah.
Those are 2 very just more enjoyable films overall because he has better chemistry. Inventing the Christmas Prince was more of a comedy. It focused on kids a little bit more, and it gave a lot more. And the Jingle Bell Bride, him and Julie Gonzalo have tremendous chemistry. It's beautifully shot, and I enjoyed this story. Adding in a wedding planner to a Christmas film, sure, that could automatically bring everybody's interest in the film up, because you can mix together a June weddings film and a Christmas film. But this film just did not work for either of us. This is definitely my weakest of the entire weekend. I enjoyed My Norwegian Holiday more than all the rest of these, but this is probably, do I want to say it is the weakest one of the weakest weekend out of all the Christmas ones? No. The first weekend, it was the weakest one, I think. With checking It Twice and Under the Christmas Sky. But with Where Are You Christmas, that was a really good film. But I'm hoping that next week is a better week, and we will get into those in just a little bit. Next up, we are going to go into Family Switch. This is one where you were going to watch it basically because we were going to cover it on the podcast, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, with this one, I was looking forward to this. I looked forward to this trailer a lot. This movie was right up my alley, man. This was right up my alley. I just got done. Now, I don't know if it was because I just watched the Christmas with a Kiss, but I was having a damn good time with this film. I enjoyed Family Switch. This is all about when the Walker family members switch bodies with each other during a rare planetary alignment. Their hilarious journey to find their way back to normal will bring them closer together than they ever thought possible. This one stars Julia, not Julie Gardner. Sorry, Jennifer Gardner and Ed Helms. So many names going around. I just talked about Julie Gonzalo. Now I'm talking about Jennifer Garner. Jennifer Garner, Ed Helms. This movie was right at my alley. I enjoyed this so much. This had the goofiness. It had the type of family comedy I like. This kind of had like a feeling of a kiddier version of, say, like a Freaky Friday. You did have moments of some toilet humor in here, yes, but you could have easily overdone it. You could have easily like overdone it and did it many times. Instead, it was only like one scene. And for me, it did work because of what was going on. It was right at the very, very beginning of the entire switch. And I enjoyed this. Her and Ed Helms do have good chemistry. There is one scene that I don't think worked very well involving a kiss, which was just very uncomfortable and in poor taste. But the kids in here did a very good job. Jennifer Gardner and Ed Helms had a fantastic time playing these characters, getting to be these 13 to 14 to 15-year-old kids again. They loved this. They loved this because they did add in a little bit of references to other films. One that was with Jennifer Gardner. I feel like I'm 13 going on 30. I know a lot of people are going to crap on this film, but I will say this. This movie has a lot better score than I thought it would actually have. This has a 2.5 on Letterboxd. Last time I looked, it was at like 50-something percent, 40%, 40-something percent on Rotten Tomatoes. And I get it. I get it. This is a very mixed film. But for me, this worked. However, it did not need to be this long. You could have easily shaved out a good 10 to 15 minutes of this film.
Yeah.
Bloopers were pretty funny. I enjoyed the bloopers at the very, very end. I like it. But this movie had a lot better. Sorry, it had a lot more going for it than it should have. This movie should not have entertained me as much as it did, but I think it just hit me on the right day. I think if I go back and rewatch this film, this movie is going to be one that I can easily just shove on for my family during like a rainy spring Sunday family film. But there is my thoughts on Family Switch. I'm going to end up giving this a 3.5 out of 5. Just with it being a little overly long and some of the jokes not really landing, particularly with the baby and the dog. That got to be a little bit dumb. The neighbor was pretty entertaining. He was living it up. And the kiss that was very uncomfortable and unneeded didn't add too much comedy, just made you feel very uncomfortable. And I thought it was done in poor taste. But there's my thoughts on Family Switch. And what were your thoughts on this film?
I didn't like it. It was not for me. The comedy just was not my style of comedy. I can get into comedies like Waterboy, Billy Madison, stuff like that. But this just felt on a different level, kind of. This just felt really kiddish. It just did not vibe with me at all whatsoever. And it, like you said, with it being overly long, it got to the point where I wasn't finding it really funny, that it was starting to lose my interest towards the middle to the end of the film. It was really hard for me to even keep invested in it, just because it was just boring for me. I was just sitting there, just rolling my eyes most of the time, like, really, like what you couldn't have kind of upped the humor a little bit more, to where it's a little bit more mature. I mean, you don't have to be, you can be Waterboy level comedy, and I'll be okay with it. But this just felt like it was just too kiddish, and then you had on top of that this terrible CGI with the baby and stuff. You had the awkward kiss in there. And the only thing for me that was redeemable for the whole film was that I think they all done a good job acting wise for what they were having to go for. You know, I think they did the best they could with the script they were handed and the direction they were told to act on that script. So I ended up giving it a 1 out of 5. Definitely not one I could watch again. And you know me, I was going to watch Yesterday after watching this and do like a double feature with that. And it didn't happen. I couldn't do it because I know you said that was worse than this one. So
God.
I was like, there's no way I can sit through Yesterday if it's worse than what I just watched. So not even for Jen or take it.
No. Now I will say this. This is her best family comedy, I think. Now I'm not saying a PG-13 film. I'm talking about a PG family film because she does have a few of those on her list here. This Yesterday, Alexander and the No Good Horrible and the Terrible Horrible No Good Very Bad Day. That's a bad film. I think that's just an overall bad, boring film that was not very funny. I did enjoy The Odd Life of Timothy Green more than other people did. I think it's a very sweet film with some good comedy and some very good emotional beats. This one is her best one, I think, because she also has 9 lives. She has 9 lives. She has Yesterday. Yesterday is... that's just an unfunny, bad film, and I don't know what happened with that film. That film was just too kiddie. It was unfunny. The humor did not land with just about anybody. While the performances are pretty decent, just the comedy, it might be the same style as this one, but this one sort of used that a lot better, and it had a more intriguing storyline that, yes, we've seen before, but I think it worked more than in Yesterday. Now, if you ever have a feeling or a urge to watch the film, you might enjoy it better than this one. We never know. I mean, films hit us in a different way every single time we watch them, and I know that you had a very surprising film that this past weekend, just like I did. Well, you had 2. You had 2. So I say we do It's a Wonderful Life next, so that then we can get our standalone reviews done next, and we go right into the news and what's coming next week. So It's a Wonderful Knife. I was at work, or I might have been on my way to work one day, and you send me a text with this preview. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching it right before work, and I'm like, this looks okay. This does not look up my alley. It didn't intrigue me all that much. This is all about Winnie's life is less than wonderful 1 year after saving her town from a psychotic killer on Christmas Eve. When she wishes that she was never born, she finds herself magically transported to a nightmarish parallel universe. With the murderous maniac now back, she must team up with a misfit to identify the culprit and get back to her own reality. This movie was a lot of fun. This was fun. This is sort of a horror take that takes bits from It's a Wonderful Life, i.e. the similar title. Now, we're not going to say that this is a better film than It's a Wonderful Life, because it's not. It's not a better film. This movie does have some good things going for it. Good performances. A very well done story that could have gone one way or another, because this easily could have went into like a Totally Killer type of vibe here. I think that film's a little bit stronger because I enjoyed that story a little bit more, but this film does have some good kills. Very gory kills, bloody kills, likable characters here, funny moments, and also some predictable moments, because I did see that one unmasking happening, because we've seen that before. We've seen, I believe we've seen the same actor do the same thing in another film just not too long ago. So I was not all that enthused about that. But with that being said, this is still a very good film. It's not one that I would ever say, hey, I would rather watch this over, say, a Scream or anything like that. To me, this is not a new holiday horror classic. But you and I are a lot more positive than some other people are, because a lot of other people are calling this film bad, garbage. It is an awful film. 0.5 star, 1 star, 2.5 star, 2-star reviews. I'm gonna be good with this one, and I say it's good enough for a 3.5. If the DVD comes to Walmart or the Blu-ray comes to Walmart, I could see myself easily paying a good $10 for this on DVD. But what did you think about It's a Wonderful Life?
Well, as you know, my favorite Christmas film is It's a Wonderful Life. So when they announced this one, I was excited. A horror slasher elements thrown from It's a Wonderful Life thrown in there with the horror slasher. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a great time with this. I mean, I smiled all the way through. Sitting there seeing similar scenes from It's a Wonderful Life taken and put into this one, and being able to pick them out. Some of the names they used mimicked names from It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they done so well, I think, at just making this a horror version of that movie. And, is the movie perfect? No. I mean, I can sit here and say it's not a perfect movie.
Yeah.
The acting isn't great at all times. It's predictable, all the usual complaints for a movie like this. But it gave me pretty much what I wanted. It gave me a horror version, a horror version of It's a Wonderful Life, and kept me smiling the entire way through. And it is definitely something I could watch every year, double feature it with It's a Wonderful Life, and just have a great time. I mean, be able to watch my favorite Christmas movie with a really solid retelling, I guess you could say, of the film. I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5. I mean, I know I said it's not perfect, but so why am I giving it a 5 out of 5? But, hey, sometimes you can give it a 5 out of 5, even though it's not perfect. At least I think so.
Well, I mean, hey, here's how I see it, all right? What are movies for, right? They're supposed to give you enjoyment. And for you and for me, this was your how am I trying to say this? I enjoyed The Family Switch as a fun film. I had a ton of fun with that film, and you had this much fun with this one. So I understand why you are going to give it a 5 out of 5. You had a ton of fun with it, and if all you want is some good fun, then this is easily a very fun horror holiday film. You can easily throw this on at any time. And I will say this, I had no expectations going into this one. I was watching it because you wanted to see it. And I figured, hey, it's a horror film. It's on Shudder and AMC Plus. What the heck? Let's sit down and watch this thing. It's super freaking short. What's going to be the harm in this? It's only 87 minutes. So it does not overstay its welcome whatsoever. And it does not drag at all. This thing moves. It moves. It zooms through. It doesn't slow down. There are some good kills here. Yes, it's predictable. But hey, the movie hits you in a certain way, and if this is a 5 out of 5 for you, hey, I'm gonna celebrate that because hey, the Family Switch should not be a 3.5 film for me. But
Yeah.
sitting here as a critic, I can pick that film apart. I can easily pick that film apart. But with all films, can't we pick apart anything we want, even our favorites?
Oh yeah, Lord, yes. Definitely.
But this is a film where you shut off that critic brain and you're like, I'm having fun. I want fun. But speaking of horror films, this is one that I skipped. If you know me, I will do horror films. I am open to the horror genre a lot more than I used to be. Because for me to watch a film like Talk to Me, that was a big stretch. And Cobweb. I watched Cobweb. I watched Insidious: The Red Door. I even watched Talk to Me. I told you that I was going to skip the Talk to Me, but I watched Talk to Me. You watched The Exorcist Believer along with Ashley. Now,
Yeah.
before I get into what your thoughts were, we saw the scores. You saw the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what everybody else was giving this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to open the door for you to say what your thoughts on this film were. And if Ashley would like to join in for this one, be my guest, because I know that she had no expectations for this whatsoever.
I said, you want to say anything on the Exorcist movie?
No, you know nothing.
She says I can say for her. She's over here reading.
No.
Yeah, she's over here reading. So.
Oh, gotcha.
When I was seeing the scores, I was very tempted to skip it because I know with these Exorcist movies, the first one's a classic. The third one's a really good sequel.
Mm-hmm.
The second, and then the next, the fourth and fifth one, they're not that great. The second one's unwatchable. It's so boring. Nothing happens hardly in it. So I was worried. And so I went into this. I thought, let's just watch it. I've seen all the others, might as well see if they can capitalize on something here. Because I like the thought of there being two girls in this one instead of just one person getting possessed, that they're having to take on two different, you can say two demons, but trying to help two girls at one time. And I was pleasantly shocked by how well not only I liked it, but Ashley liked it, because she hates all the Exorcist movies. Hates every single one of them. And I never can get her to hardly ever watch them. Every time I bring them up, she just despises them. But she even loved this one. And we ended up giving it the same score too. But I thought this movie did a great job at giving us a story that showed people who was generally trying to do their hardest to save these two little girls. They all have different religions, different beliefs and stuff, and they're all trying everything they can to help these girls. And the ending to it, I like the ending because it wasn't necessarily a happy ending. And so it made it different. It felt different. Now, I had my issue with it. There was a scene towards the end when they were trying to when they're doing the exorcism on the girls, and there's some some scene. There's a scene where I thought needed a little more work because I didn't like the way the camera looked and the angles they were going for and stuff they were doing. But outside of that, I thought the acting was great. I loved the dynamic of the movie. I thought that bringing in oh shoot, what's her name? Hang on,
Ellen Burstyn.
my mind's going. Yeah, my mind went blank. I thought they brought her in for just the correct amount of time. I didn't think they overused her or anything. I mean, the woman's what, 80, 90 years old. So I mean, she couldn't be doing all these crazy things that they were doing at the end of the movie. But for me, it worked. I thought the everything looked good. I thought the makeup on the girls looked good. I thought the girls did a great job with their performances. And I don't understand the hate for the film. I don't know if people went in with too high of expectations for it, with it being an Exorcist movie, or if they expected some kind of Oscar film or something from this thing. I mean, it's a movie about two girls being possessed and them having to, get them, exorcise the demons out of them. I mean, I got what I was hoping for, hoped for, a solid film that we both ended up giving a 4.5 out of 5 to. And, like I said, I didn't expect it to be that high. I was hoping for it, but because I was hoping to finally get another Exorcist movie that was actually good.
Yeah.
But we'll see where they go from here. I'm assuming we'll still get the other two films because it is Blumhouse, and they usually just still go through with them, even if their movies get trashed or whatever.
Yeah. As
so
as long as it makes as long as it turns a little bit of a profit, they will make a sequel. Unless you're a film like Ma.
Yeah.
Not that I'm bitter or anything.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of left this movie open for a sequel. There was an element to this movie where you could definitely see a sequel, but at the same time, I could definitely see them not doing, or they left it to where they don't have to do a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I loved the very end when who comes in at the very end. Kind of made me mad. It was when they bring Reagan in at the very end of it. It kind of made me mad they waited to the very end to bring her in. I wish she was in it a little bit longer. But I think a lot of that was because she had such a hard time with the first movie that she did, and the character of Reagan for her wasn't an easy character to do. She went through a lot making that first Exorcist movie, and I think being able to even come back for that little bit was probably a very milestone goal for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely am glad she was able to do that. Just hopefully in the next movie, if there is a next movie, she can be in it more. Maybe she can get more involved, especially with what happens, to her mother. But we'll see. But I definitely think this is a solid finally sequel that we got that I really hope for more from.
Yeah. For anybody who knows me, I don't do the possession films. I don't do the exorcism films. I don't do those types of films. My type of horror is more like a slasher, or more like a psychological thriller, or a weird type of horror, like say Scream, The Shining, the Lighthouse, It Follows. That's more my type of horror. So for something like this, it doesn't intrigue me. Now, I'm not going to say that I didn't watch the trailers because I watched the trailers for it. It didn't look like anything up my alley. I had no interest in seeing this. But hey, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I mean, it's all an opinion.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have their own opinion. Next up is May December. You did not watch this one.
No.
This was on Netflix, and this is the new film from Todd Haynes, starring Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. This is all about 20 years after their notorious tabloid romance gripped the nation. A married couple buckles under the pressure when an actress arrives to do some research for a film about their past. So, pretty much what this is about is all about the character of Natalie Portman. She is an actress, and they're going to be doing a film all about this romance that happened between a 30-something year old woman and a teenager. And it's basically what led up to this, and she wants to do like these interviews with the people in the town who went through this and everything. This was a fantastic film. This was fantastic. The performances are phenomenal. But what are we saying here? It's Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman. Of course they're going to be good in these films. They're great. But Todd Haynes, this is a guy that I have not seen any of his films. Now, I should have seen a couple of his films. I did not watch his film called Carol from a few years ago. I skipped Dark Waters. Skipped Far From Heaven. But I will be watching that one because it has Miss Julianne Moore in it, and I love Julianne Moore. This movie just worked for me. Is it a uncomfortable story? Yes, it's a very uncomfortable story because you're kind of seeing this marriage starting to break up a little bit because while she is older and he still loves her, it's not really a romance film. This is a drama basically about them doing the research. And the script is so well done that it barely drags. And by barely, I mean it does drag. It does drag in parts. It's almost 2 hours. There were a couple scenes that could have been cut out to tighten this film up a little bit more. But these performances are so well done that I really enjoyed this one. There was a scene that I thought was unneeded involving Natalie Portman. I will say it is of the sexual scene. That was just unneeded. I think they just added that in for maybe some shock value or to make you feel sort of uncomfortable, but that was just a very uncomfortable scene that was just unneeded, did not need to be in here whatsoever. It added nothing to the story for me and added nothing to my enjoyment of this film. While you can sit here and say that this is a nasty film, that's the point, okay? That's the point. You're supposed to be uncomfortable watching this film because, yes, that romance is wrong. It's very, very wrong. But doing the research is what you're there for. You're there to see her do the research and see what these characters went through. Interview them. Say, hey, how did you meet him? How did this start? What did you see when you were in the shop? What do you know about her from this past 20 years compared to now? How has it kind of affected her state, right? This is a drama. You're supposed to feel uncomfortable, and it's supposed to give you emotions. And I thought this film delivered that very, very well. These performances are phenomenal. It's a great script. It could be up for a couple awards, probably like a Golden Globe, maybe a Critics' Choice. I know it's up for a Indie Spirit Award. And oh my Lord, I need to talk about Charles Melton. Charles Melton in this film as Joe, the kid or the guy who ends up being with Moore in this film is phenomenal. This guy outshines Julianne Moore in a couple scenes. He's giving his all. He's a young guy. He delivers much more than I thought he would. I know he is from the show Riverdale. I don't know who he played. He might have came in after I stopped watching. I watched season 1 and the first 2 episodes of season 2, and I don't even remember his character, if he's even in it by that point. But Charles Melton delivers a phenomenal performance. Definitely one that I say check out if you're interested. This is getting a 4 out of 5 from me. Easily, probably the best film I watched all weekend was May, December. But there's our wrap up of the entire week of movie watching. Yes, we are sort of backed up on a few of them, but you know what? Hey, things happen. Life gets busy. You got work and family, and you got to balance that with movies.
Yep.
But next week, we will have a lot of reviews. But first, we'll get into the little bit of news. So first up, we're going to talk about Disney is going to be re-releasing Soul, Turning Red, and Luca to theaters for a limited time in 2024. Do they need to? In a way, yes. In a way, no. Will they make a lot of money? No. But why will they not make a lot of money? Let's think about this here for just a minute, okay? Whose smart idea was it to push those films straight to Disney Plus? Bob Iger wasn't there. We got trailers for Soul and Turning Red in front of other Disney films, in front of other animated films. It was Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek was not giving any credit to the filmmakers at all at Disney and Pixar. So what Bob Iger is trying to do here is saying, hey, we were making these films, you were making these films to be put on the big screen. And what did that do for the company? Bob Chapek decided to stick these films on Disney Plus. That makes you no money. It makes you nothing. So at least by putting them in theaters, they will make a little bit of money off of them. They're not going to get back their budgets. They're not going to make anything off of these films like they would have if they would just move Soul a year instead of sticking it on Christmas Day in 2020. I mean, it's a good film. It's a good film, but Luca was stuck straight on Disney Plus. That didn't get any trailers in theaters at all because when that was supposed to come out, they just decided we're going to stick it on Disney Plus. Same thing with Turning Red, what happened with Soul. So I get why they're doing it. When Chapek left, the morale was low. The morale was low in the animation offices because they thought, hey, what's going to happen here? Look what happened. Lightyear bombed, and that movie should not have bombed. It should not have bombed at all. Wish bombed. Elemental almost bombed. Why did they bomb? People now see the Disney films and like, it'll be on the Disney Plus soon. It will be on there soon. They see the Disney animated films and they're like, they can just see them on Disney Plus later. They aren't special events anymore. And that's due to Bob Chapek's stupid decision to stick those films on Disney Plus, not give any credit to the filmmakers. Lose the company money that Turning Red would have made a crap ton of money overseas with the anime style. If you're an anime fan, you love that movie. This is a good decision, one, because it makes the company a little bit of money, because you won't have to do a whole ton of marketing for it, because these films are not going to make $100 million. I think they'll maybe make 20, 30 tops. So at least they got that chunk of change there. But then again, you got to take 33% away to give it back to the theaters. You got to do a little bit and take away from the marketing cost. Yeah. It's a bad decision to stick those films on Disney Plus. Now, there are some films that I see why they stuck them on Disney Plus, like a Stargirl, like a Lady in the Tramp, like a Pinocchio. I get why they stuck those on there because they were made for that. the Pixar films were not made to go to Disney Plus. They were made to go to theaters, and that's what Bob Iger's trying to do. He's trying to give he's trying to give all the filmmakers credit. He's trying to make the company a little bit more money and make something off of these films, even if it's like $10 million. Even if it's 10 million, hey, it's 10 million that than you had the day before, right? Money is money is money. But I know that you are not a fan of these three films, right?
No, the only ones I've been a fan of was Elemental and Lightyear. Of the ones that's recently come out, I've not loved too many of the Disney Pixar films. It's been very limited, very minimal. I loved Raya.
Yeah.
Obviously the Toy Stories I love, but stuff like Turning Red and Soul, and it just, I didn't care for them. I mean, it wasn't for me. They weren't fun films. They weren't memorable films. But I understand why he's doing it. That Disney has struggled some with their movies. I mean, the Marvels didn't do what they wanted it to do. They've had a lot of failures. In their movies, or at least movies that's not done what they wanted in typical fashion. So I get why they're doing it. Now, like you said, I don't think the movies will make much, if anything. But we'll see. Hopefully they start to get better. Hopefully we get stuff that's not all just sequels. Most what they've announced has been sequels, like Inside Out 2, Frozen 3, Frozen 4, the Moana live action remake. I want more than that, and hopefully we can get that and them actually be fun and rewatchable films. But I didn't see Wish. I heard that it's not great. I haven't seen the greatest reviews for it. So I don't really expect me to watch it unless you wanted to do it for the channel or something. But I don't really expect me to watch that one, just because I don't really have a ton of interest in it. So
now, what I will say to give my thoughts on the sequels and the live action stuff, right? What's happening right now is what we've seen before. We have seen this before. They hit a slump.
Yeah.
And they kind of hit a slump back in the 80s with the Black Cauldron. That didn't make a whole lot of money. The 80s Disney films didn't make a whole lot of money because they were trying something different. Now, what they're doing is they're hitting a slump. What happened the last time they hit a slump? We got Frozen. And that thing grossed over $1 billion. Frozen 2 made more money than that one. Two very good films. So what's going to happen is I think that they're going to finally get their butts in gear and get the creativity going, because Elemental, that's a very creative film. It's a very creative film. With Wish, I'm going to try and see that on Thursday, because I think my theater is going to have that film leave on Thursday, because I want to catch that in theaters. It's the Disney 100th anniversary film. You know much how I love Disney. It's probably in my top 3 favorite things is Disney, which it's Walt Disney's 100th and 122nd birthday today, as we are shooting this. So happy birthday. But what they're doing is they're putting these films out because they make money. The live action remakes and the sequels is what people know. And for original films, I know we say we want original films, but look what happens. They don't go see them. They don't go and see the original films. Now with Frozen 3, it may not make $1 billion. It depends on the songs. It depends on when you put it out. It depends on what else is up against it. If Moana, the live action Moana, looks like garbage, it may not make no money. But the only one that technically bombed, when taking out the Disney Plus films, obviously, where they made no money off of it, was Dumbo. Dumbo did not turn a profit, but they expanded upon the story, which is only, 63, 64 minutes? If you would have done that, I mean, you sneeze and you're out of the theater already.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, and about a quarter of the film, you've already sat through 20 minutes of trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're sitting there for an hour film. But hey, next up, this is one that I know you're a little bit more excited for. We're going to talk about Screen Gems, just announced today or a couple of days ago, they're going to focus more on horror. Horror is a top priority for them right now. And with that being said, you've seen a lot more of their films as of recently than I have.
Yeah.
Going back to the films that I've seen in the horror genre from them, go back to say like a 2016. I did see a Don't Breathe. I did see the Underworld Bloodlines and Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. By the way, the only 2 films I've seen from those franchises are the last films, and I plan on changing that. The Intruder is sort of a horror film in a way. It's more of like a thriller, but it's sort of a horror film. But Brightburn, and Don't Breathe 2, which was fine. We won't get a Don't Breathe 3. And Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. The Invitation was such a little treat. It was much more than it had any right being in my mind. But then we had one that you love more than people do, with Insidious: The Red Door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you've seen some other ones that I haven't, like The Pope's Exorcist, like The Unholy, The Grudge, The Possession of Hannah Grace. You've seen all those films.
Yeah.
And a film that is sort of horror that I enjoy when everybody else says is Monster Hunter. It's more of like a sci-fi action film, but it's monsters, so it counts. But if everyone can count Jurassic Park as a horror movie, then by God, so is Monster Hunter. But what are your thoughts on this? And does this get you a little bit more excited for maybe more Insidious films, more films like A Pope's Exorcist, like The Invitation? What does this do for you as a horror fan, that they are making your favorite genre a top priority?
It really just depends on the route they go. If they're more like The Grudge or something in quality, I'm not going to be excited, because we know I was not a huge fan of The Grudge. They've had some that I just aren't huge fans of. But if they could stay to the level of things like Insidious, not necessarily needing a sequel for for that movie. I don't really need to see another Insidious film, but if they could be on that level of that, then I could definitely get behind it, definitely get excited for it. It really just depends on the quality and what the story is. Don't give me Pope's Exorcist 2 and Insidious 6, and give us more original ideas and new stuff, or at least new stuff. Don't say original ideas, because nothing's an original idea anymore, hardly. But just give us more things that's not a sequel, and make it to that level that I can enjoy it, like an Unholy, Pope's Exorcist, Insidious, and then I can get behind it. But if you just give me
Shoot.
a bunch of crap, then no. I think he froze.
Oh, we might be back.
He froze
Okay.
up there.
I have no idea what happened, but okay. But see, not seeing a whole lot of their films. Okay. I'm not a horror guy. Like I've already said, I'm not a horror guy, but I will watch horror films. And for Insidious the Red Door, being my first Insidious film, I enjoyed that film. I enjoyed it. Not knowing the story and knowing that this kid was the kid from the first one and how it sort of connects, I understood it. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do.
Yeah.
Because with horror films this year, this has been a good year in horror. This has really been a good year. Not saying much because I have skipped a couple of them. But I've done some that I thought I wouldn't have done. But
it's definitely been last 2 good years of horror so far. So
yeah. And but I will say this: if we get films that are on the level of ones that you enjoy, since you are a horror lover, then I say, hey, it's a win. And if there's a film that I want to see, cool. I mean, like a Cobweb. I had no interest in Cobweb. No interest. But I watched it before you, and I love that movie. It's a really good horror film. It's probably my top horror film of the entire freaking year is Cobweb. But I'm just hoping we get good films from them. That's all I want, are good films. Give me good horror films, and we will see what happens.
Yeah.
Our last topic is going to be one that saddens a few people. Nicolas Cage has 3 to 4 more films in him, he says. What will those films be? We don't know. I have not really dug into his whole filmography as much, but I've seen some films and I do enjoy him as an actor. I think he's a really great actor. I believe he has won an Oscar. I think he won or was at least nominated for Moonstruck.
Yeah, I can't remember if he won for that or not. I don't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think he has earned it. This man's been going for how many years and making how many films without hardly a break? He might want to spend time with his family. It's not like he doesn't have enough money, but he might just want to enjoy retirement. But what are your overall thoughts on this one? I know that you're a bigger fan of Nick Cage than I am, and you enjoyed his films a lot more than I have these past couple of films. But
yeah,
what are your overall thoughts on this news? And do you see him changing the plans if the films become big hits, or if someone wants to do a sequel to something?
You know, I get he's done tons of films. I know he probably wouldn't have to make even another film at all if he didn't want to. You know, I hate to see him go. Is his films amazing films all the time? No, you know, but he brings such a great dynamic to his roles, and no matter how bad the film is, he's always the best part of the movie. I know he's talked about it in the past, saying that it's getting close. And if it happens, it will be definitely a sad day for me not to be able to see him in any more movies. I mean, I know we've had other stars go longer in film. I mean, you look at ones like Morgan Freeman, Robert De Niro, so many others that have gone longer in the business. But, you know, maybe it is, you know, him wanting to spend time with his family, or whatever. It's just, I don't want to think about movies without him in it. You know, he's one of my favorites, and just to think that one of my favorites won't be in a film anymore just kind of sits very poor with me, because I don't have many favorites that's still really going. I mean, you got Will Ferrell, but I mean, he's not putting out great films like he used to. Jim Carrey's retired now.
Yeah.
You know, Adam Sandler's mostly doing Netflix stuff for the most part, and we know how those films usually are when it comes to his Netflix stuff, other than like maybe a couple.
Leo and Hubie Halloween and Hustle. Yeah, those are 3 good ones that I've seen. But
yeah. So I mean, it's sad. I mean, I'm not really connected with any of the new and up and coming stars yet to replace the legends of the acting world for me. But I still got Ryan Reynolds. He's still doing stuff I enjoy. So I guess he could keep going strong. But just don't give me no news that he's deciding to retire, and then we'll be all right.
I don't think he has any plans on retiring anytime soon. No time soon. But there's a little bit of news. I was going to cover the Indie Spirit Awards and the Critics' Choice for the TV stuff, but I decided the Indie Spirits, it wouldn't really be fun for Scottie because he doesn't know any of those films. And I watched all the nominations. I'm like, I don't even know some of those films. Now, I mean, you had you had films like a Past Lives and a May December, and films I've heard of and seen, but it's films like 1001 and films like that I've heard of. I don't really have a whole ton of interest in seeing, so I was just like, I'm not going to cover those. I'll probably talk about the winners once those come out, and the TV awards. We'll probably talk about those when the winners come out, just like the Emmys. But I will be covering the Critics' Choice Award nominations for the movies, the Golden Globes, the Golden Globe Let me see. The Golden Globes nominations come out on the 11th. So that's Monday on my birthday. So that'll be a nice thing to start my birthday off with, as the Golden Globe nominations. But let's get into the slew of new stuff coming out next week, because we do have a few more things to cover next week than we did this week. So this week we do have 5 new Hallmark films.
No.
So we had a nice break. On Thursday, we got 2 coming out. We got Rescuing Christmas with Rachel Lee Cook and Sam Page. Along with that, we also got To All a Good Night with Kimberly Sustad. On Friday, we got Magic and Mistletoe with Paul Campbell and Lindy Greenwood. Saturday, we have Christmas on Cherry Lane. And then on Sunday, where's the Sunday one? God, there it is, with Round and Round. But we will be covering a couple films we didn't get to this past week, like Don't Suck with Matt Rife and Jamie Kennedy. Candy Cane Lane. We will also have, or I will be doing Merry Little Batman, a short coming to Amazon. I may talk about that on the podcast. I'm not sure. It depends on whether I have a whole ton to say about it or not. But we will also have things like the Sacrifice game comes out next week, which I know you are looking forward to, coming out this Friday on Shudder. I'm watching that one just so we can do it on the podcast. That's basically about it. I don't remember watching a trailer for it, really. I'll probably watch it after this. But we also got a film called The Portrait coming out on VOD. It's from Wellgo USA. So we could do that one. It just depends on what the trailer looks like. We also got Your Christmas or Mine 2 coming to Amazon Prime. So we could do that one. And then it depends on what happens and when we record the podcast next week, because A Creature Was Stirring is coming out on VOD on December 12th.
Yeah.
If it was coming to VOD the same day as theaters on December 8th, then we would definitely do it on the podcast. But we will be covering that one. But we are wrapping up these Christmas films. We only got 2 more weeks of Christmas films, and then we'll have a whole slew of news as well as nominations coming for the Golden Globes. And I think the Critics' Choice, I think the Critics' Choice nominations come out, or that could be the week after. I'm not 100% sure. But what was your best film of the entire week? Do you think was your favorite film of the entire week?
It's a Wonderful Knife by half a star. By half a star over The Exorcist.
For me, I definitely have to say it would probably be May, December, and then Family Switch. If I'm going by enjoyment, then it's definitely the Family Switch movie. It's definitely the Family Switch. But if I'm talking about the best film I watched, it was May, December, and then My Norwegian Holiday, followed by Family Switch.
That's a little mix of things.
Yeah. But I will be going to the theaters this week. On Thursday, I plan to go and see Wish. It depends on what happens. See what the plans are for that day, as well as what comes out to the theater on my birthday weekend. I will find that out tomorrow. I don't know whether they're going to get in the Journey to Bethlehem. I've already seen it, but they should be still playing the Hunger Games. So I should be seeing the Hunger Games this upcoming weekend. And then the next week, there's Wonka. My theater is getting Wonka. And I'm jumping up and down because I'm looking forward to Wonka a lot. I love Paddington. I love Timothée Chalamet. He is one of the greatest actors working today, and he's going to have many Oscar nominations, many awards on his mantle by the end of his career. And I'm looking forward to seeing him grow because he has not had one bad film. And I don't think Wonka is going to be his bad film for me. But there is everything, and we have a lot more coming to you guys. And we will see all of you guys next time. So tell everybody where we can find you on social.
Just Scottie and Ashley Johnson on YouTube would be the best bet. Because I'm not on much of the other ones. So
get these guys to 250 subscribers. We're getting them there. Get those views up and keep on liking and watching this podcast. I'm liking seeing these views. I know I need to get the videos up, and I will get the individual ones up from last week and for this week. That's my job for tomorrow and Thursday. But there you go, everybody. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see all of you guys next time.